This is my video response. I'm testing a new gear setup. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome to today's episode. Today I am talk about some new announcement from Canon, and also I'm testing a setup, a new setup for my upcoming trips. So I got this new lens, which got me thinking, why we need to carry multiple lenses if one lens can do it all. Obviously, you compromise mainly on the aperture, and also you compromise on the image quality front. So the lens on my short list, and I'll tell you what I decided. Are mainly two. So I got the RF to EF adapter, or EF to RF adapter. So I was considering the first nano USM lens, the EFS 18 to 135. But that lens got a problem. It's an APS-C lens. The zoom range is pretty identical to the lens of my choice. Well, it's a little bit worse, but it's similar. It's a super zoom. So I was thinking 18 to 135 on a 4K movie crop mode, which is APS-C crop mode, will give me equivalent of about 28 to 210-ish. And that lens I can find it pretty cheap in Australia, about $300, and give or take. And it will add an adapter. It's not very light, so it'll be like around 550 grams. So it's still pretty good. But the problem is, on the photo front, I got the R8. It's got 24 megapixel sensor full frame. On the APS-C crop, it's only got like less than 10. So that got me thinking, for a long trip, the best of my photos will be taken only 10 megapixels. So I kind of undecided until I suddenly found this one. The first bunch of RF lenses. The one and only RF super zoom to date. The RF 24 to 240 lens. 10 times super zoom. It's kind of underrated lens because not many people talk about it. Not many YouTubers talk about it. Not many reviews about it. And you can see why. Because it's kind of does the job. Have USM lens, USM motor, have IS, give you the best focal range, but the aperture kind of sucks. So what I'm gonna use it for is mainly from 30 or 35 to 240, and aperture I'll fix at f6.3. So see how I go. But I think it should be fine. It should be fine. It will serve its purpose as a super zoom. So currently I'm shooting on a tripod. I'm quite back off, so I'm on 76-75mm. I'm just testing this lens 4K on C03 30p. How is the image? How is the audio quality? The lavalier mic is not on me, so it's kind of a meter from me. What else you guys need to know? f6.3 ISO 800 60th of a second, so it's 180 degree shutter angle rule. And I've got R8. It's fantastic. I mean, for a short take like this, I don't need an external battery, but if I need, I can take my V-mount USB-C output. What I found through last year's trip and the previous trips is the R8 and RP, they like hot environment with a dummy battery, cold environment with an original battery in E17 in, and USB-C power. So in the hot environment, overheating is the main restraint. So you want a dummy battery to take out the battery heat outside of the body. And then NPF or outside USB-C bank, whatever, the dummy battery will work a treat. However, in colder climate, I had 3 NPF battery all died on me on New York City Central Park at -8 Celsius during a walking vlog. I was so pissed off. 3 battery died within like 20 minutes. All of these cheap NPF batteries can't withstand the cold, and the camera don't like the dummy battery at all. The solution would be a really long dummy battery cable, and then you keep your NPF or whatever V battery inside your jacket. But it's kind of impractical because normally during use I like to clip my NPF battery on the cage, so keep the whole setup less clutter, very compact. Yeah, there's no ideal word, so I've decided in the future if I'm traveling to a hot area, I take my NPF and the short cable dummy battery. If I'm traveling to a cold area or climb the mountain, see snow, I will take my V-mount battery. Yeah, that's enough about recent gear changes. Let's talk about the news response. Today, Canon announced the R6 Mark III plus one primary lens. One primary lens is the 45mm F1.2 STM. I'm far more excited about the lens than the body. If you think about, let's talk about R6 Mark III for a second. Let's go all the way back to R6 Gen 1. It was an underrated camera alongside R5. R5 was the bomber, R5 was the hero. And everyone talk about overheating, everyone talk about the recording limit, everyone talk about R5. R6 used a former flagship 1DX Mark III sensor, 20 megapixel. It's a very good sensor, but it's very old tech sensor in that sense. It's not taking heat very well, and it's not a video monster, to say at least. So very short time, 2 years, Canon got rid of all the overstock of that 1DX Mark III sensor. So they announced R6 Mark II. Kind of surprised everyone, because that refresh cycle is rather very short. And this time Canon waited about 3.5 years. It's more like normal, because 4 years is average for this kind of camera. So 3.5 years we got R6 Mark III. From the C50's announcement last month, everybody, pretty much everybody, if you remotely interested in cameras and tech, you pretty much know R6 Mark III gonna have the exact same sensor, same recording spec, same rolling shutter, same everything. So surprise no one on R6 Mark III comes. It's kind of got an improved IBIS, but that surprised no one either. It's all a claim number, 8 stops, 8.5 stops, it makes no difference. What does make a difference is it will have 7K, and actually it keeps the open gate and raw. So kind of make me wondering, C50, it doesn't do internal ND and doesn't have on-body XLR. Those two to me are the most important thing for cinema camera if I were going for a cinema camera style of body. C50 has neither. C50 does come with a handle, but I don't always want to shoot a top handle. On the gimbal you can't use the handle. You probably don't want to use the handle when you already got an existing rig, shoulder rig or chest rig. You probably yeah, I mean the Canon top handle kind of force you if you want to use XLR, because it's free. You don't want to spend another $1,000 to buy another XLR adapter, right? So yeah, I mean, other than that, R6 Mark III probably a better buy if you ask me, because you got the CF Express B card, so it's ultra fast. It records 7K, it records open gate, it records RAW. There's no limitation. There's a very little limitation in terms of heat management, because this generation, unlike the first generation, the heat is no longer the major issue. So and it's cheaper, and it has IBIS, right? I know IBIS is controversial in cinema recording, but it's there. You can choose to turn it off, right? Unless you're constantly shooting in a very vigorously moving vehicle or crane, or in some very extreme use cases. Otherwise, IBS turned off is equals to no IBS. What else the difference? So far I haven't seen any. Now it comes to the lens. Lens is like instant buy, God tier. Don't believe whatever you read on the internet. This is an announcement of the year. This is literally the bargain, I wouldn't say bargain of the century. I would say lens bargain of the year. If you ask me, so many hundreds of new announcements this year, what impressed me the most this year, probably a couple of Sigma lenses, and then that's this one. A 45mm F1.2 autofocus lens from manufacturer like Canon, first party manufacturer, and it's under, I kid you not, $500. Can you believe that? Canon is the one just announced a optically so heavily rely on digital correction VCM series, and the 50 VCM is almost $1,500, and this one less than $500 and have half a stop larger aperture. The next AF F1.2 lens is the $2,200 RF 50mm F1.2. Just to think about it, a quarter of the cost, priced by the same manufacturer, and give you the same aperture and almost the same field of view. Honestly, from the pattern leaked online, it's actually a 48mm, and you might call it a 50. Because 50 is, it might be a 48, it might be a 50, it might be a 52. Canon, just for marketing purpose, call it a 50 RF. So the 45 is awfully close to the 50, and Canon cannot name it RF 51.2 because that will create even more confusion. Well, imagine you walk into a camera store and say, I'd like to have a standard 50mm Canon lens, and then the seller will be, you want the f1.8, or you want the f1.4, or you want the f1.2, or you want the f1.2 L. That's a disaster. That's a disaster in any sales. It's already confusing enough. So Canon, being a little bit smart in that sense, name it 45 f1.2. But regardless of how old the optical design might be, how slow the STM motor might be, just to think about it, 67mm filter thread, a 300 something gram, very lightweight, f1.2 large aperture. I'd carry it with me in heartbeat. It doesn't matter, it's not a kilogram like a 50, 1.2, 85, 1.2. Those lenses, you have to think about it whether or not you take it with you. But this 300 something gram, there's no brainer, literally no brainer. I instantly pre-ordered it. I only ever pre-ordered two lenses. One is the RF16 f2.8. One is this one. But think about that. The 16mm at that time, 4 years ago, even now, first party, ultra wide, autofocus, kind of large aperture for its given focal range, for focal length. Until now, you can't even find one. Let alone you find one with less than $300. I think it was $299 or something. It was a bargain of that year. And this is definitely the bargain of this year, 2025. Mark my words, out of all the first minutes, embargo lifted reviews, B&H, Park Camera, London Camera, Kai Wang and Gordon Lung and Chris Nichols. All of the reviews, I like the Kai's review the most because it's very short, very simple, straight to the point. This is a bargain, no matter whichever way you look at it. This is a bargain. It's unimaginable for Sony to do that, for Olympus to do that, for Panasonic to do that. Let's put it this way. Panasonic, that petty 26mm F8 costs $100. Think about that. Panasonic is the one who try to sell you an old school micro four thirds 25mm F1.4 lens for like $1,000. And this is bigger. This is a full frame. This is F1.2, and this is half of the price. Olympus 45mm F1.2, which is their portrait lens because the micro four thirds, it covers a quarter of the sensor size, and the lens is heavier, bigger than this full frame one, and it's priced almost double of this lens. Yes, it's a Pro series, it's waterproof, whatever you call it, but I'm not taking my portrait lens or my environmental street lens in a pouring rain anyway. My R8 is not that waterproof anyway, so it doesn't bother me. 67mm filter thread, very common, very good. What not to like? I honestly don't know. People say, oh yeah, Nikon has a 51.4 and 35 f1.4, but this is f1.2. You know, in the old days, for that half a stop of aperture, how much usually you have to pay? Double or even triple the price. And this is cheaper than any f1.4 first party lenses. It's crazy. I don't know how Canon has pulled it off, but I haven't watched any image quality tests. But that's okay, because it doesn't matter. Believe me, with digital correction, with modern design, with Canon's coating technology, this lens won't have major flaws. It will be fine. It might be a little bit slower to focus, it might have a terrible corner quality, but as a portrait lens, as an environmental street lens, it will be fine. It will serve my purpose. It will serve my R8 24 megapixel sensor perfectly fine. Even 33 megapixel, this R6 Mark III be perfectly fine. Otherwise, Canon wouldn't choose to announce them alongside each other. Yeah, that's very exciting. So very likely I'll be traveling with these two lenses. One is the one shooting me 24 to 240, and then I'll have one f1.2 in my bag in case I need low light performance. I need an extra large aperture for some bokeh-ish photo. That'd be cool, isn't it? That's certainly very exciting. Other than that, yeah, I'm excited to use, this is an ND and a CPL together. I a little bit of regret buying this. This is a cheap brand, newer brand. Yeah, I don't think it's very good. The polarizing effect is not very strong, and ND8 is kind of mid of the road. I rather ND 32 or 64. I think 32 and 64, 5 stops and 6 stops are mostly used for outdoors, especially in Australia's sun. Yeah, 6 stops is very common. If I use for a large aperture, I probably need 10 stops. Like f1.2 is coming, right? So f1.2 to f1.4 is half stop. Then f2, f2.8, f4, f5.6. Yeah, this lens I fixed at f6.3. So it's 5 stops and a third. 5 and a third stops slower. Jesus, that's a lot. f1.4, 2, 2.8, 4, 5.6. Yeah, it's 4 well, technically it's almost 5 stops. It's a little bit, tiny bit less than 5 stops. Yeah. Yeah, if f6.5 would be 5 stops, so f6.3 is technically 4.8, 4.9 stops. But anyway, enough rant. So if this lens I'm using this ND8 and feel not enough, then the f1.2 I probably need 3 stops. This is the ND8, so add another 5 stop will be ND256. Yeah, so I need probably 8 stops at minimum, maybe 9 on a bright sunny outside. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, that's another day, another story. I need to have a step up ring because this is 72mm. I have a 77 and 72, so I need to buy a 67 to 77 step up ring or something. Yeah, but anyway, that's another day, another story. So yeah, I'm very excited. I probably buy a cheap Chinese what do you call, not lens cap, what's this one, lens hood. Yeah, Canon, as it's old-fashioned non-L lens, doesn't come with lens hood, so I buy this JJC. It does the job. It flips, reverse lock. Yeah, not as good, but it works. It costs like 20 bucks instead of $100. Yeah, very excited. This marks the end of today's news response. Good to talk. It's been a while. Thanks for support. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.